Before we start, I just want to say that the smut is not included in the video. It was too awkward for me to put it in video since it's also me first time writing smut, but I did write smut and the link is in the description box below. Also, please note that there will be an extra scene after the smut which is included in this video. If you have any comments on the smut, please comment it here on YouTube rather than O3 since I props won't be able to read it if I do comment on O3. Anyways, enjoy. Disclaimer: none of the songs including the one in the intro, characters, or artworks including the one in the thumbnail in the video are mine. This is not an accurate portrayal of the characters nor is it a defamation of character either. Please note that what I write does not necessarily reflect my views and opinions. I am not my writing. Just because I write it doesn't mean I agree with it. This is all for entertainment purposes only. Warning: foul language, much typos, slight and SFW. On to the video.
Atsumu watched Sakusa as he cooked. It's been more than a month since the incident. He has not confronted Sakusa about it. He's just observing and waiting for the other shoe to drop. He can't take it anymore though. Every day that passes by, the knot in his stomach is getting tighter and tighter. Who was that girl you were with? Why were you holding hands with her? Why was it so easy for you to do laugh with her, touch her, and be with her when it took us breaking up for you to do those with me? Do you really love me? There are so many unanswered questions in his mind and each and every one of them is driving him insane. He knows that girl wasn't part of Sakusa's family. He's seen his sister and mother after all. And Komori is his only cousin, so who was she? Every time Sakusa said he's going to do something, every time he replies even a minute late, Atsumu dreads. He wonders if he was with that girl. It didn't help matters that every day after school, for at least an hour, Sakusa is busy. So Atsumu skipped class once. He went to Tokyo to see. He wanted to know. Desperate even. He saw them again. In the same park he saw them at. They were laughing with each other, pushing each other playfully. They were doing what normal couples do. There were even lingering touches and soft, proud smiles to each other after those touches. It made him sick. He spent the hours after he got home dry heaving into the toilet as he couldn't gather his appetite, so he didn't eat. He's just happy Osamu wasn't there to see. Atsumu studied Sakusa closely, looking for any signs of the girl. Should I end this now? No, not yet. I need to savor this before it's gone. If I'm going to lose you tomorrow, then I'll make the most of today. He decided that he's going to end everything tomorrow, just in time for the new year. He went closer to Sakusa as he was chopping and hugged him from behind, burying his face on Sakusa's back. Sakusa stopped chopping and craned his neck to look at Atsumu with a smile. Yes, Achu. Atsumu bit back his tears and hugged Sakusa tighter. Sakusa washed his hands and turned around to face Atsumu. Atsumu embraced him again, burying his face on Sakusa's chest this time. Sakusa returned the embrace, squashing the feeling of dread and covering it up with surprise and happiness. Although Atsumu was naturally touchy-feely, his actions when they were still dating as well as during their initial courtship was hesitant. This wasn't. Atsumu hugged Sakusa like it's the last time he ever will. Sakusa squeezed Atsumu tightly, shaking that thought away and relishing the surprising act of affection instead. Are you okay, Achu? He mumbled in Atsumu's hair. Atsumu gave a hesitant shake of the head, then buried his face into Sakusa's neck. Do you want to talk about it? Atsumu shook his head again. Okay. Is there anything I can do for you? Atsumu nodded, then pulled himself away from the hug. He looked at Sakusa with desperate, pleading eyes. Omi. Yes, Achu. Sakusa cradled Atsumu's cheek and Atsumu nuzzled Sakusa's palm, his eyes fluttering shut as he bit back a sob. Kiss me, Omi. The words were whispered so softly, Sakusa almost didn't hear it, but the implications were so loud he couldn't have mistaken it for anything else. What? Kiss me? Atsumu said louder. Please. The whispered plea was swallowed by Sakusa as he immediately captured Atsumu's lips with his own. Atsumu couldn't stop the moan that was ripped out of his throat as Sakusa devoured him, because that was the only appropriate word for how intense Sakusa's kissing him right now. There was no hesitation, no slowness, just the hunger of a man who hasn't eaten in weeks. Atsumu felt Sakusa's tongue enter his mouth and his knees buckled as the ground seemed to shake. He can feel himself becoming weaker and weaker as his breath and energy was sucked from him through his mouth. The only thing keeping him standing now is the tight hold Sakusa has on him. Then he was released, but before he collapsed, he was lifted into the air and he instinctively locked his legs on Sakusa's waist. Sakusa seated him on the countertop as he took hold of Atsumu's waist and kissed him harder, almost pushing Atsumu on his back with the force of it. It was only Atsumu's grip on Sakusa that prevented him from being pushed back. Atsumu had his right hand buried in Sakusa's hair, slightly pulling at it while his left hand was clutching Sakusa's arm tightly. More, want more, need more, Omi, please, more before it ends. Atsumu didn't realize he wasn't breathing until Sakusa ended their kiss and attacked his neck. Atsumu bared his throat as Sakusa's mouth assaulted it. He moaned when he felt the part where his neck meets his shoulder sucked on. Omi, please. Atsumu moaned once again as Sakusa trailed open-mouthed kisses from his neck to his mouth. His grip tightened on Sakusa's hair as he tried to pull Sakusa into another kiss. Sakusa obliged. He pulled Atsumu close to him by the waist, making Atsumu lay on his back on the countertop. Sakusa was practically on top of Atsumu and their crotches were pressed with each other, the motions making them grind each other slightly. The atmosphere was filled with the loud sound of kissing and muffled moans. They both came up for air eventually, but both still kept on stealing light yet firm kisses from each other. They sat there, panting for air as their foreheads pressed together, eyes still closed and breaths mingled together. That was. Atsumu licked his lips, his voice hoarse. Sakusa chuckled, his deep voice deeper and huskier than normal, and Atsumu shivered as he bit his lip to stop a moan. Sakusa saw and felt the reaction and groaned before locking his lips with Atsumu's again. They memorized every corner of each other's mouth before letting go. They spent a few moments just regaining their breath, then Sakusa said, breathless, I love you. And suddenly, Atsumu couldn't do it anymore. Have some respect for yourself. Are you that desperate to have sex with someone who doesn't love you? Take what you can. Who are you kidding? You're not taking anything away from him. You're giving everything you have left. Sakusa dipped his head in for another kiss but stopped when Atsumu recoiled away. Sakusa looked at him in confusion. Achu? Atsumu wasn't looking at Sakusa as he pushed him away from him. He got up from his spot on the countertop and hopped down from it. Achu? Baby, you okay? Sakusa's still looking at Atsumu in confusion, still not comprehending the sudden change. I'm fine, Sakusa, Atsumu said tightly, still not looking in Sakusa's direction. Sakusa felt his heart clench. He's been called Sakusa during their entire courtship, with Omi only being said if Atsumu was caught off guard or overwhelmed. But he didn't know why this time hurt so bad. You should continue cooking. I'll just be in the living room. Atsumu forced a smile then left, leaving Sakusa alone once more. Osamu heard the door open while he was preparing dinner. He heard Atsumu say his greetings then sighed in relief. You're late. Osamu normally waits for his brother to get home before preparing dinner, but when it reached the 8 o'clock mark and Atsumu was still not home, he began to get worried. It's already 9 p.m. and he's still cooking when normally they would already be at their own rooms talking to their boyfriends, or suitor, in Atsumu's case. Yeah, sorry. I ate dinner at Omi's so I'm not hungry. I'll head in for the night, Samu. Just put my portion in the fridge. Good night. Osamu stopped. What? There was something off about Atsumu's tone. He turned the stove off and went to see his brother going up the stairs. Atsumu? Yes. Atsumu sounded tired. Osamu walked up the stairs to where his brother stopped, back still turned to him. He stopped one step above his brother to see his face. What, Samu? Are you okay? Atsumu was clearly not okay. He looked pale and absolutely exhausted. His eyes were red-rimmed, somehow highlighting the previously unnoticed dark circles under his eyes. The fact that Atsumu was looking away from him shows that he knows just how horrible he looks too. Come on, Atsumu. Talk to me. Atsumu bit his lip. What happened? Atsumu collapsed on his brother as tears started spilling from his eyes. Atsumu twisted his hand on his twin's shirt as Osamu embraced his brother, murmuring assurances to him. Osamu didn't know what happened. His first thought was that Sakusa did something again, but that can't be. Sakusa's far too smitten with his brother to do something. They both just stood there until Atsumu calmed down. Samu, do you wanna go to your room? Yeah. Okay. Do you need anything else? Cuddles? Okay. Osamu assisted, almost entirely carried Atsumu to his room and they both collapsed on the bed, hugging each other. Wanna tell me about it? He asked after a few minutes of silence. Atsumu immediately shook his head then stopped and hesitantly nodded. Okay, I'm listening. Omi's in love with someone else. Osamu found both his eyebrows rising up. It's not that he didn't believe Atsumu but his twin can be really dense and Sakusa might be an asshole but he is an asshole who's deeply in love, might be obsessed, with Atsumu. Okay. How did you find out? I found them having a date in the park. Really? Again? Osamu can't really believe Sakusa would do anything like that but if Atsumu knew he doesn't believe, he would keep it to himself. Yeah. They were holding hands and laughing with each other. Okay. That is damning evidence. Sakusa doesn't like people touching him and for him to hold hands with someone not Atsumu. Not to mention the laughing part too. Osamu's only ever seen Sakusa happy if he's with Atsumu. That's unbelievable. It's not if he loves her. Everything was silent as Osamu doesn't know what to reply but he seriously doubts that Sakusa's in love with someone else. Okay Tsumu. Did you talk to Sakusa about this? No. Then maybe it's a misunderstanding. They were holding hands. Samu. What is there to misunderstand about that? Maybe it's his sister or something. I know how his sister looks. That was not her. Okay then maybe why are you being so insistent all of a sudden? Didn't you want this to happen? What I wanted was for you to not be hurt anymore and Sakusa was hurting you. Now though, it's pretty damn obvious to anyone who spends a minute in both of your presence to see that the man is truly, madly, deeply in love with you. He's not. Tsumu, I know you can be really blind but even you should notice how fucking whipped he is for you. Then explain the girl Samu. I can't. Maybe you should talk to Sakusa about it. No. Tsumu, no. Get out. Osamu groaned internally. This is why he didn't want to argue but he couldn't just let Atsumu think that Sakusa fell for someone else because he's unworthy which Osamu would bet on is what's inside Atsumu's head right now. Tsumu please. Out. Atsumu pushed him out his room then slammed the door. Osamu sighed then spent a few more minutes knocking on Atsumu's door, trying to convince him to talk to Sakusa, then gave up and went down to finish cooking. He knocked on Atsumu's door again a few minutes later. Tsumu have you eaten? Honestly? A few seconds of silence. No. Okay I'll just put your food outside your door. Eat okay. Silence. I'll go to Suna's house so you could have your space. Call me when you need me. Silence again. Okay. Eat Tsumu. Bye. Sakusa's confused and scared. When Atsumu asked for a kiss, he was ecstatic. He thought that maybe Atsumu's finally starting to believe his feelings for him. He loved every second of that kiss and thought that Atsumu did too, judging by the moans he let out. Then he said I love you and Atsumu pushed him away, smiling that horrible, fake smile again and left. Then they started eating lunch and he thought everything was back to normal but he noticed how Atsumu kept himself farther away from Sakusa than usual. How he made sure to not touch Sakusa anywhere, not even lingering ones, not even his clothes. He noticed how Atsumu didn't meet his eyes, how he tried to act like everything's fine, how his voice was still cheery and yet it was too fake, too exaggerated, too forced. Then Atsumu said he's going home already. He normally goes home in the afternoon, just in time for him to reach Hyogo for dinner but it was only lunch time. He felt dread matched only when Atsumu was breaking up with him but he pushed it down. It's nothing. He's just in a bad mood. So he didn't argue. Atsumu was clearly in a bad mood and he thought giving him some space would be nice so he walked him to the train station and that was that. He received a message 3 hours later saying that Atsumu got home safely but after that, nothing. Sakusa texted him, but got no reply. He waited at least 3 hours then messaged him again and nothing. Absolutely nothing. By then, Sakusa got a horrible sense of deja vu. This is like what happened before we broke up. Sakusa swallowed the bile rising in his throat. No, this is not like it. I treated him bad then. I deserved that. I didn't do anything wrong this time. I didn't right. I didn't fuck up again right. He waited a few more hours and started cleaning his entire apartment instead to take his mind off of it. He set the loudest possible ringtone though, and kept his phone close to him always in case he receives a message. After that, he spent hours staring and typing on his phone. But Atsumu's phone must have been off since his calls wouldn't go through. He tried convincing himself that Atsumu needed space, that he'll call him again tomorrow. But the last time I gave him space, we broke up. Sakusa's mind popped out unwanted. He gritted his teeth and stood up. Fuck this. He changed his clothes and packed some as well, only to notice that it was already 12:40 am. Fuck. The last train is at 1 am and his apartment is 30 minutes away from the train station since he didn't want noise. He immediately ran out of his house and got a taxi. I'll pay you 3 times the amount if you can get me to the station before the last ride. The driver looked at him flustered, then began driving as fast as he can. He arrived at the station 5 minutes before the train left. He collapsed on the chair in relief. I'm coming at you. He knocked on the door, although banged would probably be a more accurate description. Wait a fucking minute. Honestly, it's fucking 3 am. Atsumu swung the door open, unconcerned as to who it could be. He was woken from his sleep when he hasn't been able to sleep this past few weeks and literally just closed his eyes. So if a serial killer is banging on his door at fuck o'clock in the morning, it won't be Atsumu who dies. What the fuck do you owe me, Achu? Atsumu's expression became cold. What are you doing here? He asked as he entered the house. Sakusa followed. You weren't replying to my texts and, so, huh? Sakusa looked to see Atsumu raising an eyebrow at him. What? Atsumu rolled his eyes and Sakusa took an unconscious step back. Why does it matter if I wasn't replying? We broke up, remember? I have no obligation to give you any of my time. Sakusa flinched. Yes, but I'm courting you, Achu. Well, stop. Sakusa feel his eyes heating up. What? I said stop. Stop courting me. I don't want it anymore. Atsumu had this incredibly bored expression on his face, not even looking at Sakusa as he ends Sakusa's world again. Achu, what happened? Why are you doing this? We were fine. Why? Why? I realized I didn't want this anymore. It's tiring playing this charade. What? What do you mean? Achu? Atsumu sighed, as if tired of explaining to a toddler why they can't eat crayon. I don't love you anymore. The ground swayed from underneath his feet. He doesn't know how he's still standing. He doesn't know how he's still breathing. Is he still breathing? Sakusa doesn't know. Is this what dying feels like? It hurts. Atsumu sighed again. Leave, Sakusa. You're bothering me. Atsumu turned around and started going up the stairs. Sakusa stood there, trying to breathe, trying to keep the incoming panic attack at bay. He regained his wits a few minutes later and ran up the stairs, barging in Atsumu's room. What the fuck? He couldn't help but shout as Sakusa burst into his room. Why are you doing this? He's crying. Oh god, he's crying. Why are you crying? Please stop. Please leave. Atsumu himself is on the edge of another breakdown. He doesn't know how he managed to say all of those things he said downstairs with a blank face, but somehow he did. He came back to his room because saying those things physically hurt him. He couldn't even look at Sakusa in the face because he was scared of what he would see. He was afraid he would see another uncaring mask. Just because he knows that Sakusa doesn't love him doesn't mean he likes that fact being rubbed in his face all the time. At the same time, he was also afraid of seeing Sakusa's face all scrunched up in pain. Afraid that he's making a mistake. Afraid of hoping again. Achu baby, please. Don't do this to me. Just tell me what I did wrong, please. I'll change, okay? Stop. Please stop. I'm letting you go. Just be happy with her. Please. Don't make this harder than it already is. Atsumu kept his blank mask on. He doesn't know how. Maybe he's disassociating. Look, Sakusa. It's not you. It's me. It is me. I'm the one in the way of your happiness. I realized that I don't love you anymore. I do. I love you. I love you so fucking much. Please love me too. So I think you should stop pretending to. Don't stop, please. Even if it's not real. I want to feel your love. Please fight for me like I'm the one you want. Atsumu could feel his eyes heating up. Could feel the ground sway from underneath him. Could feel the lump form in his throat. Could feel the bile steadily rising up. He turned around again only to stop when he felt Sakusa grab his wrist. Let go. No. Let go, Sakusa, what the fuck? Atsumu couldn't quite contain the desperate sob that came out of his mouth. He can feel heat spread out in his body from where Sakusa's touching him. Sakusa stepped closer and cupped Atsumu's cheek. tilting his head up so they could stare into each other's eyes. Then say that straight to my face. Look me in the eyes and tell me you don't love me. Sakusa saw a tiny break in Atsumu's mask, so he stepped even closer. Come on, Achu. Tell me. Sakusa's desperate voice broke through gritted teeth. Atsumu looked at Sakusa, so weak, so vulnerable, and so pained. His mask slowly falls away as tears raced down his face. I can't, came the pained whisper. I can't, okay. I can't tell you I don't love you because I do. I love you. I love you so fucking much. Is that what you wanted to hear? Are you happy to know that I love you? Are you happy now? I get it, okay. I'm the idiot WHO loves you. Atsumu shouted. Every pain he felt, he poured in his words. He stared into Sakusa's equally wet eyes and attempted to wipe his tears away before swallowing with difficulty, then continued in a pained whisper. I'm the idiot who loves you. Someone who doesn't love me back. I'm the idiot who never wants to stop loving you. And I'm the idiot who desperately wishes for you to love me back. Exhausted, he collapsed into Sakusa's arms. Weak as sobs racked his body and Sakusa let go of his wrists to circle his waist. I love you. I love you so much. Atsumu pounded his hands weakly on Sakusa's chest. Sakusa let him, pressing their bodies as close to each other as possible. Why can't you love me back? Sakusa swallowed the through lump in his throat. Pain and guilt churning in his gut. Achu. I love you. I love you too. I love you, baby, please. Please. Please believe me. Please. Sakusa's words were muffled on Atsumu's hair. He pressed their bodies together, scared that if he lets go, Atsumu would vanish forever. What caused this? We were fine, right? I love you, Achu, please. Atsumu shook his head. No you don't. Stop lying. Sakusa let go of Atsumu's waist and bent down to Atsumu's eye level, holding both sides of Atsumu's head with trembling hands. What caused this, Achu? What did I do? Please tell me. I'll fix it, okay? I'll prove to you that I love you. Atsumu shook his head lightly, then pressed his face on Sakusa's chest, sobbing as his hands desperately clutched Sakusa's shirt. Please. Sakusa whispered another desperate plea and Atsumu obliged, exhausted and defeated. I saw you with that girl. What girl, Achu? Don't play dumb. You were in the park holding hands. You were laughing with her. You don't do that with others. What made her so special? Oh. Everything was silent as the two just cried, leaning into each other. Achu. Achu, baby, listen please. Sakusa cupped Atsumu's face once again so he could bring it up and look into beautiful brown orbs. That girl is nothing. Nothing? That didn't look like nothing, Omi. He started to struggle again, only for Sakusa to tighten his hold. Just listen please. They held each other's gaze, desperation shining in Sakusa's eyes. Atsumu swallowed, then reluctantly nodded. She is my therapist. What? I have a lot of issues, Achu. I have a lot of problems. My phobia is only one of them. Every day, I lived my life in fear of confronting my problems. I didn't want to face them. I fear facing them. I wanted to keep them buried as deep as I can and ignore them forever. But that just made them pile up and up until it boiled over and affected my actions. My issues made our relationship toxic and I didn't notice, and I fear them, Achu. I fear my past. But there is nothing, absolutely nothing in this world I fear more than losing you. Atsumu swallowed but couldn't look away from the black holes that are Sakusa's eyes. She is my therapist. The reason why we were outside and holding hands was because we were trying to fix my phobia. She wanted me to be in the dirty park and she wanted me to at least be able to touch a stranger's hands, and she was the only one there. We were laughing because she was making jokes to try and get me to relax. The reason we were out so early was because when you left that night, I thought that maybe you were choosing Kita and that maybe I should let you go and be happy. Atsumu looked at Sakusa with wide eyes. I wanted to let you go and be happy, but I couldn't. I can't let you go, Achu. I can't. I love you. I love you. I love you. I was on the verge of giving up but didn't know how, so I seeked her out. I mean, if someone knows how to deal with my feelings, it would be a therapist, right? But every day I spent with you, I fall deeper and deeper and it became harder and harder for me to let go, so instead of meeting up with her twice a week, I arranged a meeting for every day. I couldn't ever let you go and I thought that if I got over my issues fast enough, I'd finally be good enough for you. That I'd be the person who deserves you before you found someone else. Sakusa trembled. begging Atsumu to believe him. She is nothing, Achu. Please believe me. They stared at each other with wide eyes, too many emotion in their eyes to be discerned. Atsumu swallowed. Can we sit down, Omi? This is a lot to take in right now. Atsumu swayed where he was standing, dizzy at all the emotions he was feeling. Sakusa nodded and they both collapsed on the bed, still tangled with each other as the adrenaline in their bodies flood out of their system. Can you tell me, please? Sakusa nodded, then embraced Atsumu, trembling as he spilled everything he tried to bury. He told him everything. His past, his traumas, his issues, his mother's pain, his father's crimes, everything. Atsumu raged at the injustice that Sakusa faced. He wanted to hunt Sakusa's sperm donor, cut his dick off and shove it up his ass to make him know what it's like to be fucked around with, to make feel what Sakusa's mother felt from his abuse. By the end of it, Atsumu was crying again, but this time, for Sakusa. Omi, why? Why aren't you crying? I don't know. Sakusa answered honestly. He really doesn't know. Is it because it's been too long since those happened? Omi, I'm here. You can cry. You don't have to keep it all inside anymore. I'm here. I'm here, Omi. Sakusa swallowed, then buried his face on Atsumu's neck. Tears slowly fell from his eyes until he was crying, screaming on Atsumu's shoulder. For the first time, Sakusa cried for his past. He screamed for all the piled up pain and anger. He rebelled against himself and the silence that he forced on himself a long time ago. Atsumu held him tight, trying to keep him from falling apart. Sakusa held on tighter. Neither noticed how or when, but by the time they calmed down, Atsumu was straddling Sakusa. Atsumu was wiping away Sakusa's tears, murmuring assurances while Sakusa nuzzled Atsumu's palms, kissing them lightly. He looked at Atsumu and noticed just how close they are. Sakusa studied Atsumu's face, memorizing every detail. His puffy red eyes, his flushed face and nose, to the way the moon outside the window behind Atsumu made his blonde hair glow. Everything. But his attention was stuck on Atsumu's plump red lips and Sakusa swallowed. He leaned closer, slowly. Atsumu was still whispering assurances to him, but when he noticed Sakusa's movement, he stopped. They looked into each other's eyes, Sakusa silently begging for permission as he continued leaning closer. Atsumu gulped. Atsumu closed his eyes and tilted his head. He missed Sakusa. He's missed him so much, and even though they are together now more than when they were in a relationship, he still missed him, missed them. His breath hitched when he felt the press of Sakusa's lips. It was so slight that for one moment, he thought he imagined it. Then Sakusa brushed their lips together. Couldn't even call it a kiss. It was vastly different from their kiss yesterday. That one was full of hunger and passion. This one is sweet yet filled with fear and hesitance. And Atsumu breathed out. He took initiative and pressed his lips more to Sakusa's, then started a slow and sensual pace. He almost moaned when Sakusa started kissing back. He clutched Sakusa's shirt as he sat up straighter so he could kiss Sakusa even harder. Sakusa's hand was strong and firm on his waist as he pulled them apart for air. Atsumu almost whined, but before he could, Sakusa's grip on his waist became tighter as he was pulled in for a more passionate kiss. Atsumu moaned when he felt Sakusa's tongue enter his mouth, and he lifted his hands to circle Sakusa's neck and bury his hands on his curly hair. Meanwhile, Sakusa's hands traveled down until he reached Atsumu's ass. He pulled Atsumu closer, grinding their crotches together. Sakusa hissed as Atsumu threw his head back with a moan before going back to kiss Sakusa even harder. Omi, Omi please, need you, want you Omi please, please. Atsumu was tugging Sakusa's shirt, trying to take it off. Please, he pleaded breathlessly. Achu. Sakusa whispered in a hoarse and deep voice, making Atsumu shiver. Oh god. Atsumu moaned as he continued on grinding their crotches together. Achu wait. Sakusa pushed Atsumu slightly away from him to stop him from grinding on him. Atsumu whined. Omi please. We need a safe word. Please. I don't trust myself around you. Please. Atsumu stopped trying to grind into Sakusa to look at him straight in the eyes. He saw fear, desperation, need and love. Sakusa's scared, he realized. Samu. Huh? Sakusa's erection died down a little when he heard Osamu's name. Osamu is the safe word. Sakusa blinked, then let out a breathless chuckle. Yeah, okay, that works. They looked into each other's eyes, looking for any sort of hesitance before finding nothing but desire. Sakusa started kissing Atsumu again, slow and sensual as he gently pushed Atsumu to lie on his back.
Smut scene is in the link in the description box below. Please remember to come back for the extra scene and post your comments hereafter.
Extra scene. Osamu is being made to choose between two difficult choices. Should he suffocate himself with his pillow and risk dying, or should he let himself breathe and risk hearing his brother getting fucked on the other room? You see, he did not go to Suna's house like he told Atsumu because he doesn't feel comfortable leaving Atsumu alone in the house in the state. He was also able to hear Sakusa's arrival and decided to let those two sort out their issues. So he took his earphones and played music on the highest volume. But somehow, the couple on the room beside his still managed to be loud enough for him to hear. Which brings us back to Osamu trying to choose between hearing his brother have sex or death. Hopefully Tsumu or Suna would erase my browser history after I'm dead.
Surprise! Here's a photo I found of Agao Osumu moaning Omi. Hope you enjoyed.